Well, here we are again. I feel like the time between these update videos just keeps getting shorter and shorter, but out with the old and in with the new, we're now in 2024. It's amazing to look back and see just how much has changed for the better in 2023. As opposed to last year's update video, where I was basically on the verge of quitting the channel, the abundant success of several videos and a renewed creative drive makes me excited about this year and the stuff that I've yet to release. I've never really been one to pay close attention to numbers going up on this channel, mainly because they tend to be fairly slow for the most part, but the fact that I not only broke 2 subscription barriers, but even had a video surpass my all-time view record in the same year makes me super happy. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank you all for choosing to watch the content I create, and I can only hope you'll be here to watch what I have planned for the not-so-distant future. Well-deserved thanks aside, I know that not everyone here is interested in the numbers talk, so if you're mainly here for announcements, you can skip to this part of the video. But for the rest of you, I'd like to let you know that this video will be a bit different than previous update videos in terms of structure. And that's mainly because of the fact that I've decided to split the yearly newcomer video into its own thing, which I plan to release in a couple of days. This is mainly so people don't have to skip through an entire video in order to get to the quote-unquote good stuff. And it also helps reach more people, as not everyone is going to want to watch an update video just to find out who may or may not actually get released said current year. On top of that, I will try my best to make things more brief this time around, all as a means of cutting out unwanted fluff and focusing on what's important. This is mainly thanks to the fact that there's more to talk about this time around, so I don't want to waste your time as a viewer. Despite this, however, it should be noted up front that not everything you're about to see in this update is guaranteed to happen this year. But just because it might not happen this year does not mean it will never happen. This is mainly to avoid any unneeded hostility or demands being made, because remember, content creators need time to themselves as well. All settled in and ready to go? Alright then, let's start things off with what I feel is the most important announcement of the day. Remember how I said I'd be more than happy if the channel passed 4K subscribers over the course of 2023 during last year's update video? Well, little did I know that we would not only surpass 4K subscribers in less than 2 days after the video's release, but would also go on to surpass 5K in only a few months' time, and be close to passing 6K as we enter the new year. Growth has been slow throughout the past couple of years going into 2023, so I gave a number I thought was realistic. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for completely smashing that expectation and nearly doubling the size of the channel in a single year. And with celebrations comes gifts. And the first one is something that I wanted to do earlier last year, but it got pushed back due to a vicious cycle of work and burnout. A Q&A. That's right, I'm hosting my first public Q&A here on the channel, and you get to not ask 1, but 2 questions per person. As for where you'll go to ask said questions, you'll have 2 options. You can either leave a comment here on this video, or on a community post that will be going up alongside this video's release. And as should be expected, there's one rule for you to follow if you want your questions to be answered. No character requests. As a creator, I'm someone who has the characters he wants to cover already laid out months in advance, regardless of how long it takes for me to get to them. So if you waste your question asking me to do something that you want and I don't, it will be ignored. You can ask me how I feel about franchises and if I've ever considered covering characters from said franchises, but no downright character requests. Please and thank you. I plan to release this Q&A around the end of April, so make sure you get your questions in as soon as possible. And don't try to double dip on posting comments either, as if you post both on the video and the community post, only your latest comments questions will be answered, so keep that in mind. Also, do remember to be respectful, as your questions will be read for everyone to hear. I look forward to answering all of your questions. Alright, on to part 2. Throughout the last year, Challenger Concepts has left me quite busy, with the video quality of each project only continuing to go up with each release. As a matter of fact, this series has kept me so busy that I tend to lose track of time and often put in far more work than I was expecting to, which in turn also leads to projects constantly missing the release marks. While I like to consider myself a laid-back individual who doesn't stress over most things in life, when it comes to the arts and the field of design, I am an absolute perfectionist. I always want each of my designs to feel fresh and exciting, all while delivering the best product I possibly can each and every time. Even if I do occasionally run into technical issues or things get corrupted. One of my most common issues is sections of the project corrupting and reverting back to an older version during my export, which, in turn, is how you run into things like the ghost of Jonesy haunting several of my videos. But aside from bugs, I feel I've accomplished the goal of the best Smash design content on the platform quite well, but I feel it's time for a change that will help my content come out even better. Starting today, I will no longer be giving out release dates for projects, and in turn, will simply put them out when I feel they're ready to be released. While they might receive teasers when they're close to completion, that's the most I plan to do in terms of previews, and for good reason. I won't lie to you, and anyone who has watched me for any reasonable amount of time can also back me up on this. I am absolutely terrible at actually meeting release dates that I set for myself, and this vicious cycle usually ends with me feeling bad about my work ethic when it's simply not warranted. As a result, the Challenger Concept series now has a brand new slogan, which I've dubbed, Promise Nothing But Quality. It's short, it's simple, and it's to the point. I won't promise you anything about when a project is coming or what it will contain, but I do promise it will be high quality and continue to keep the level of polish of my other work. A level of polish that I've been trying to continuously raise, and will continue to try and raise as time goes on. Speaking of what my projects will contain, it should also be noted that the majority of my upcoming work in 2024 is going to be that of old and unfinished projects from years past. Long story short, my need to constantly start new things when projects aren't even done has started to become a serious problem, and these backlogs have reached a point where they need to be cleared out before they either overflow or remain unfinished forever. While that's the case, however, I will at least give you a teaser for the first non-2023 character I plan to release this year, and it thankfully goes in line perfectly with the Year of the Dragon. That's right, the first character I'll be covering this year is none other than everyone's favorite purple dragon, Spyro. Spyro, the wisecracking firestarter, will be releasing sometime soon, so I hope you keep your eyes open for his moveset in the not-so-distant future. There's plenty more that will be coming after him too, so I hope you're excited for everything I plan to release this year. Alright, let's now move on to part 3. Back in 2022, I announced a major project known as Ready for Battle, a guide on designing Smash Bros. Characters. A video that would have been an in-depth look into the design process for how I create movesets that would help both current and aspiring moveset designers improve, all while being a nice reference point to look to when going into the speculation cycle for the next Smash sometime in the future. Well, as of this point, it has been nearly 2 years since the planned release date for the project, and it's still not here. For those that are fearful about its development cycle, Ready for Battle is indeed still being worked on, but its production has definitely run into a lot of hitches since it was started, and by that, I mean I've had several instances of asking myself whether or not I even want to finish it. Considering the current state of the Smash community, where showing the constant problems and hypocrisy that runs rampant within its walls labels you as a public enemy, and its overabundance of overly aggressive and just awful people, there has been at least 12 instances since the start of the project where I've stopped development to consider whether or not it's even worth finishing, and at least 2 of those instances have resulted in the project not being worked on for months on end. It's an overall pain in my ass, but I feel that I've come to a reasonable conclusion that will help streamline the project's production. In short, yes, Ready for Battle will be finished, but to make things easier to digest, as well as easier to develop, I've decided to change the project's format a bit. Going forward, Ready for Battle is no longer a single video project, but is now a multi-video series, with each video covering a major topic of character design in an in-depth yet far more digestible manner. In total, I'm looking to release Ready for Battle in at least 7 parts, and once all those parts are released, I will then combine them together into the larger video project it was originally planned to be. This means you can either enjoy each part when they release, or catch the full project at the very end. Or maybe you want to enjoy the series as it releases, but you want to also revisit the project while making your own characters in the future. Whatever the reason, it's meant to appeal to everyone, and since there's no release dates being given, I can at least say you should expect it in the second half of the year, as there are other stuff I want to work on and finish first, before I feel comfortable enough to go back and work on this project full time. That's all I have to say about Ready for Battle, and I hope that all of you who've been waiting for it are ready for it to finally release. For those of you expecting more talk about the other series I'm working on, you're in luck, because I've got a lot to say in part 4. When it comes to developing content for YouTube, I'm someone who wants to make the best video he can each and every time, which is one of the main reasons my development cycles have been becoming longer and longer as the years go on. Despite this, however, I've always wanted to go out and try new things and keep my content fresh, all as a means of expanding my repertoire and preventing myself from burning out. And to help ease myself into it, I've come up with a set of 3 new series to my channel, with 2 of them being on a smaller scale, and 1 being a larger series that will only get a couple of videos per year. With great happiness happiness, I'm ready to unveil Smash Design Bits, Challenger Concept DX, and Rematch, with each one focusing on different fields of Smash design and ensuring that there will be less gaps between my major content releases. Starting with Smash Design Bits, this bite-sized series will be dedicated to a variety of topics and design ideas that, while I might find them interesting, it might not be something that I want to commit to and turn into a full-length project. This can be anything from designing unique types of specials, different takes on existing Smash Move staples, or maybe even ideas for characters that might not ever receive videos. Ideas that anyone can use, or add on to in their own way for their own designs. Regardless, it's the smallest of the three series by far, with each video only supposed to be between 10 to 15 minutes apiece, and the first video of this series is already set to release sometime soon, which will be covering a new take on Meowscarada's Flower Trick. Expected sometime after Spiral comes out, but again, no more dates. Moving on to Challenger Concept DX, this series' purpose is to take some of my past work, but not too old work, and giving it brand new audio and visuals so it's on par with my current day stuff, all while making any and all necessary moveset adjustments so that it's worth the time and effort to update in the first place. This can essentially be described as a moveset remaster series, and I've already lined up a few characters to get the remastered treatment throughout the year, and thanks to the fact that most of the work on these projects is already finished, they'll be much easier to produce than a brand new Challenger concept, and in turn, be a great way to fill in content gaps. Also, for those wondering if this counts for the oldest movesets on my channel, no. Those movesets are so out of date and behind the content quality of my current stuff that they need to be remade from the ground up. I'll definitely be working on something for these guys behind the scenes, but I'd rather make it a surprise than announce anything here. Last, but certainly not least, there's Rematch, the official title for my Fighter Revamp series, where I will take some of Smash's more lacking character designs and turn them into more complete fighters with in-depth fighting styles that feel rewarding to play as and encourage players to keep improving. These videos are designed to be on par with my Challenger Concept series and how in-depth they will be, with aspects such as character mechanics, change normals, and move flow all being discussed and being given visuals to go along with them. As for who is the first character to get the Rematch treatment, this has been an internal debate for a while now. Originally, I wanted it to be Samus, as I felt Samus was a character whose changes were clear-cut and would be easy to execute through visuals and explanations. But ironically enough, said simplicity is one of the main reasons I decided to push her down the list. I wanted something more challenging, something less expected, but just as in need of a redesign as our favorite bounty hunter. And I think I found it. That's right, Lucario, the Aura Pokemon, will be the main star of Rematch's first episode. While the idea of Aura is interesting, it's a topic that is yet to be handled correctly in Smash, and most of the revamps I've seen for Aura are either lacking or just flat out bad. As a result, the combination of desperately in need of a rework and completely underwhelming profile of fan revamps made me finally decide that Lucario was the perfect place for Rematch to start, and you can expect to see the Aura Pokemon truly enter the battle in the second half of the year. As for what will come after, there is at least one other episode of Rematch planned to release this year, and it could potentially turn to more depending on how well this series is received. But for now, that's what you can expect from this series going forward. From simple ideas, to remastering older ideas, to taking Smash's existing fighters and turning them into characters that feel true to their design. You can expect to see it all throughout the year and only get better as time goes on. Also, it should be noted that, after the second episode of Rematch launches, every other episode of Rematch will be chosen by fan voting, so make sure you vote when the time comes. Also, if there's any sort of design aspect that you'd like to see covered in Smash Design Bits, be sure to tell me in the first episode's comments section, as while I do have plenty of ideas, I don't mind talking about stuff that other people might want to know more about. Alright then, let's move on to part 5. Back in late 2021, I opened a personal Patreon that was dedicated to supporting the channel, all while giving back to my audience in unique ways that was outside of my usual content. Despite having good intentions, however, I quickly learned that these plans were far too taxing on me, and it wouldn't be long until things fell into disarray. While I am working on the backlog, and do finally want this to be the year where things are cleared, I feel it's finally time to revamp my Patreon for the better, all while giving it a design that truly fits my original plans. Starting tomorrow, all supporting patrons will now gain access to all assets I plan to release a week before they become available to the public. And to go in line with this, I will be releasing assets in sets of 3 every other day until I've caught up on my current projects. This aspect will be available for all levels of support, meaning you don't need to pay more if you don't want to. But since I'm not doing personalized movesets anymore, it's only fair that those who pledge the highest amount are also given something new in its place. As a result, all of those that pledge the maximum amount to my Patreon will now be given access to unique design documents that I will create for upcoming fighters, so you can not only know who's coming next before anyone else, but also have an in-depth look at their stat distribution, their playstyle, and how their character mechanics will work. This bonus will remain exclusive to top supporters as well, so for those who desperately need to know who's next to join the battle, I thank you for your future patronage, and rest assured that more bonuses will be coming throughout the year. As for the content that is yet to be finished on my Patreon, I once again must reiterate that you have not been forgotten. As a matter of fact, I can say with certainty that a month later on this year is going to be dedicated to finishing all the projects that are still left in limbo, and once they're complete, there will never be another Patreon moveset made again. You might occasionally see me post smaller projects to Patreon in order to keep it active, but those ideas will more than likely just be a part of Smash Design Bits. That's all that needs to be said about Patreon for now, as while I do have more planned for it, I want to wait until they're closer to completion to talk about. There will also be more rounds of Choose Your Fighter coming this year, so keep your eyes peeled once Episode 1 featuring Melania finally launches. Also, yes, all support levels will still be able to vote for Choose Your Fighter, so nobody is left out of the loop. All of this is being done as a means of putting more to the channel and giving back to my viewers in the way that I should have been doing from the very beginning, through the content itself, not forcing myself to make even more. I'll also be introducing new stuff for channel members this year, with various goals being introduced such as a members only Discord, early viewings of non-challenger concept videos, and even a character request series. But since I'm not ready to talk about this yet, I'll stop the details there and say there will be a small video coming out this year when everything has been properly laid out. Alright, with all that out of the way, let's move on to the last part. And I promise that this is something that will get all of my fellow Smash moveset creators excited. When it comes to my experiences with the arts and character design over the years, I've come to understand all too well that there are a ton of factors that can weigh down a creator's mind. From too many ideas trying to force their way into a single design, to being unsure of which direction you want to take your work, to simply losing confidence in your abilities, which in turn can lead to a lack of drive. It's why put in the time to work when you don't ever feel like what you put out there is worth anyone's time. Uncertainty is the leading cause of idle hands, and idle hands is the leading cause for most projects falling through. While I'm doing my best to deal with a lot of these feelings myself, I've always wanted to help those deal with this difficult aspect of character design and get the support that I never did. As a result, I'd like to show off the last new series I'm going to start this year. Introducing Cleared for Battle, a monthly stream series dedicated to reviewing the movesets of aspiring character designers and helping them turn their creations into the best they can be. These movesets will be hand-selected from viewer submissions and reviewed on the first Saturday of each month, and whether you're brand new to the field of character design or have been doing it for years, all are welcome to post their content for review. As for where you'll be able to post your work for the streams, follow a link in the description that will take you to my Discord channel. And once you become a member, you can drop a link to your work under the Cleared for Battle tab in the submissions section. Also, depending on the amount of submissions, I plan to cap it off at 10 movesets per month. Just make sure you only keep it to one submission per person, as everyone has a right to their own work being reviewed. This is also going to be the main Discord for my channel going forward, and it will be linked in the description of all my videos going forward, so join up when you can. Also, I feel it needs to be explained that when it comes to reviewing content for fields I'm very familiar with, I tend to be very blunt and straightforward with my criticisms, and while I might sometimes come off as harsh, I want my criticisms to be fair and understandable, so be sure to keep that in mind when your work is on display. I'm not going to butter up designs that are lacking, I'm not going to hold the fact that I'm a competitive fighting game player over your head like a trophy, I'm simply going to review it, tell you what's good, tell you what needs to be improved, and give you some ideas to fill in the gaps if need be. The first episode of Cleared for Battle will be streamed on April 6th, so make sure you get your movesets in as soon as possible. But before you do, I feel I should lay out a couple of rules. Rule number 1, try to keep your submissions to characters that actually have a chance to make it into Smash Brothers. While I'm sure many of you have OCs that you'd love to see join the battle, I'm not keen on giving advice for characters that I can't ever see fighting on the battlefield. I will accept character designs for rivals of Aether characters, but if it's for Smash, I'm going to pass. And rule number 2, the work you're submitting must be created by yourself. This should go without saying, but sometimes people do ask me how I feel about the work of others, so I felt I'd put a disclaimer here to prevent any issues with someone submitting some other creators' videos for review. I might be willing to accept it if I've been given express permission by the original creator, but outside of this, it has to be your own work. As for the acceptable formats, I'll take anything from Word documents to Google documents to even videos, and you'll have until the first of each month to get your submissions in, so be sure to take your time. That's all I have to say about Cleared for Battle, and should any changes be made to the format over time, you'll find announcements for it in my Discord. It'll also be the best place to contact me directly, so if you have anything to ask me about anything that I announced here today, that's the place to do it. Alright, let's close this video out, shall we? And this brings my 2024 update video to a close. But before you go, I do have a few extra things to add that didn't fit into the other categories. So please, spare me just a bit more of your time. First off, one of my biggest announcements of the past couple of years, Let's Design, is still being worked on, but I've come to the conclusion that, thanks to its constant hitches and issues, Let's Design as a series is going to go on indefinite suspension. Mayreen will still get her video, that much I promise, but unless her project gets a ton of traction, it's a one and done deal, sadly. Even if that's the case, there's still a good chance I'll come up with some sort of compromise, so I can show off my many Rivals creations to the world. But for now, one character is all you're getting. Aside from that, I should also make it clear now that Rewriting the Future, a massive project that would have been a retelling of Claren's origin story, but you know, well written and not rushed to all hell, has been canned. While I originally was super invested in wanting to right the wrongs of Tales of Aether, I eventually just lost interest in the idea, and it just wasn't worth it to me anymore. Looks like Tales of Aether turned out to be the Starfield of the Rivals series, in that it's so bad that I don't even want to try and fix it. Oh well, maybe I'll release a video of me reading out the entire script, because the entire story has already been fully written and laid out. Maybe sketch out some drawings of the story, and just make it a 4-hour audiobook. But regardless, the drive is gone, and I can only hope they end up writing Claren better in Rivals 2. Finally, there are a few videos coming this year that don't relate to my other work, and since I don't have any section to announce them in, I feel dropping them here at the end of the video is the best way to do it. First off, Halo 3 ODST, A Goat, A Birthday, and Growing Paranoia will release very soon, which covers a playthrough me and my friends did of Halo 3 ODST's legendary campaign. And aside from the very chaotic playthrough we did of Halo 4 back in September of last year, this was our latest Halo playthrough and was an all-around very fun time. Second, and this might come as a surprise, United Designs is officially coming back. While I originally planned to bring it back for more last year, I eventually decided against it because of the time it took away from my other work. But with new ways to smooth out content production under my belt, and also the fact that it's a unique type of content that does wonders for preventing burnout, I've decided that now's the time to bring it back. Currently, I have episodes planned for Obstagoon, Primarina, and Darkrai, and if these do well, I might also add Mienshao, Nidoqueen, and Incineroar to the list as well. Look forward to seeing these designs released in the not-so-distant future. Finally, with Rivals 2 set to release later on this year, I'm announcing ahead of time that I will indeed be making content based around the game. From story playthroughs, to fights with friends, to also taking Claren into Ranked. You can expect to see a lot of this drop not too long after the game's release, whenever that might be. Here's hoping that this game is nearly as good as the first one, as after playing Ultimate for the Paldea Spirits back in February, I'm in desperate need of a new platform fighter that actually plays well. And with that, this video is done. Once again, I must thank you for how wonderful of a year 2023 was for the channel. And while I might have had points where I started to lose hope, I still kept coming back. And I plan to keep coming back now and far into the future. For now, however, I hope you all have a good morning, a good afternoon, a good evening, a good night, and thank you for watching. Here's to the future and what it might bring. Have a good one.